So it's happening. I knew it was going to happen. I didn't exactly know when or how it would happen, but here we are. How many of you have noticed that more and more people around you, your friends and family, are looking for more ways to make money? Now, of course, I think most of us desire new opportunities to advance in life, but this is different, as this is not coming from a place of wanting to make more money, but from necessity. They need to make more. Remember, many things have doubled in price. Gas is still high, and people aren't making double the money. We all knew that this was not going to be sustainable. 1/3 of inflation ravaged U.S. households are skipping meals or cutting portion sizes, and 2/3 are strapped for cash, a survey says ahead of midterm elections, with Louisiana and Oklahoma the worst hit. Americans say inflation at grocery stores is higher than the official 13.5% rate. 31% of households have skipped or cut the size of their meals this past year because they didn't have enough food. 18% said they do not get enough to eat. 2/3 said they would struggle to raise $400 in a crisis. Louisiana and Oklahoma are the worst affected states. Every day, basics like eggs, milk, and margarine have rocketed up in price. Cash-strapped consumers are switching to dollar stores. Folks, you know how the U.S. is labeled as one of the fattest countries in the world? Well, that looks like it's all about to change very soon. You know, if I were to say that this is the greatest time for you to make money than any other time, Jay, you're crazy. What in the world are you talking about? I'm talking about people need things at lower prices, whether that is a product or service. There are solutions, folks, and it's time to take action. Or we start lining up. How many of you guys like ramen noodles? Everyone seems to have their go-to survival foods, right? Then there is the dollar menu, if that's a thing anymore. I think they are phasing that out. Or dollar store options, right? Well, my friends, that's garbage. See, there are two things here, folks, that you are going to have to understand and conquer from this point on. I'm not kidding. You have to, number one, know what to eat. And number two, you have to prevent yourself from being tricked or buying into food scams. And I'll get more into that in a moment. But take a look at this. Now remember, when it comes to these ingredient labels, it goes from greatest to least. So whatever ingredient is labeled first, that is what the product is mostly made of. And the ingredient listed last is what the product is least made of, okay? So, on the ingredient label for top ramen, we have enriched flour, palm oil, salt. Now, you could stop right there because this is mostly flour, oil, and salt. And that's it, really. So let's see what they sprinkle in there. Autolyzed yeast extract, and this is just another name for MSG. Or you may see soy sauce in the label. It's an excitotoxin. It's horrible for you. It causes some of the worst inflammation. Some people are more sensitive to it than others. And so we have citric acid, probably as a preservative, disodium guanylate, disodium encinate, and disodium succinate. These are all salts and flavor enhancers that, in combination with MSG, creates this umami seafood potato chip like flavor. Just more salt. Let's see, we have dried leek flake, egg white, garlic powder, hydrolyzed corn and soy protein. Okay, so far there are 7 ingredients already that will get you addicted to the product. Next, that's by design, by the way. Next, there is lactose, maltodextrin, natural flavor, onion powder, potassium carbonate, potassium chloride, powdered chicken, which is boiled chicken water, and the leftover crust and fat of the chicken, once it's dried out, becomes the chicken powder, or chicken flavoring, really. Rendered chicken fat, see? And the rest of these ingredients are mostly preservatives. So let's take a look at the nutritional content. 69% sodium, 1,600 milligrams of salt, folks. It's 1.6 grams. 53 grams of carbohydrates to 9 grams of protein. Now, I use this as an example because there are people, sometimes college students, who will go to extremes with their diets to save money, like eating ramen every day, which would make you malnourished, no doubt, to the point where you develop things like scurvy, which is a lack of vitamin C. On top of that, we are talking high blood pressure or worse, headaches, sweating, weakness, quick fluttering heartbeats. People are still using microwaves to heat this stuff up, basically turning it into a toxic soup. Noodles typically take 10 minutes to boil, folks, and almost every other noodle is better than instant ramen. Rice noodles, shirataki noodles, glass noodles, wonton noodles, kelp noodles, chow mein, lo mein, green noodles. Almost every other pasta noodles are much better than buying instant ramen noodles. Nearly 1 in 3 college students say they have to skip meals every day due to cost. Now, for those of you who have been in college or a community college, already understand that this is not an uncommon thing. A lot of college students are broke, surviving off of liquids and snacks. In recent years, the rate of college students experiencing homelessness has been on the rise, especially among students attending community colleges. In fact, a few colleges have been making headlines for taking more steps to support these students, such as Long Beach Community College designating specific safe areas for students to sleep in their cars. Okay, so I didn't really think that being homeless and in college was a thing, but apparently it's trendy. In addition to homelessness, an estimated 3 out of 5 college students have faced food insecurity while attending school. Democrats' push for free community college would have likely alleviated some of the hardships these students face, but the measure was dropped. We surveyed 1,000 current college students to get a better understanding of the challenges and risk they are facing in order to get an education. 78% of college students have had to choose between paying for food and paying for school. 29% of students skip meals every day because they cannot afford food. 18% of students work more than 35 hours a week in addition to school. So, the good news is we've arrived at November and there's still food on the shelves for the most part. But the prices are so high, that's where the food stays until someone who can afford it buys it. And unfortunately, it's about to get worse, folks. A lot worse. There has been recently another announcement of a coming diesel shortage. So it's going to become more expensive to transport food by diesel. But don't worry, the expense will be passed along to us, the consumer. because merchants have realized that people are still willing to pay for some of these items even with the rising prices. Now, food companies have figured this out some time ago, that they can keep raising prices and people will still buy their products. There was a New York Times article published recently about how company profits are also going up along with food prices, even after their inflation-related costs are covered. And this brings up the idea that companies are actually exaggerating the cost of their products and are using the pandemic supply chain disruptions as an excuse to hike up prices just for more profit. And this is what I mean by avoiding food scams. In other words, something like a bag of potato chips shouldn't be a part of your diet. You should just buy potatoes, you see? A bag of potato chips, 8 ounces, $5. Or you can get a 5-pound bag of potatoes for around that price. Not only do you get more potatoes, but now you can make anything you can make out of potatoes. And of course, this is not hard to figure out. I mean, as of right now, the decision is not that hard to make. It simply comes down to only buying whole foods, meaning that the food product has one ingredient. Pasta noodles, one ingredient, semolina, wheat. A pack of top ramen, 28 ingredients. Why? It's just noodles with a pack of salt, with spices they don't even identify. So what this comes down to is now people are going to overspend, or they are going to pay very close attention to what they are buying, how much money they have. And they will start to look ahead in time and figure out what they need for the next few days, weeks, or months. You see? Cost of living. The people using OnlyFans as a second job to help with bills. With prices rising at their highest rate in 40 years, many people have taken up a second or third job to make ends meet. But it's also led to a rise in young people posting sexual content for money on sites like OnlyFans alongside their day job. That's according to the English Collective of Prostitutes, who told Radio 1 Newsbeat that they had received more calls about young women joining the site because of the rising cost of living. The campaign group is warning people who post sexually explicit content online that they could be opening themselves up to long hours, a risk of abuse, and even stalking. And this is where we are headed, folks. Our society is going down the drain. So we have to start thinking differently now. We are going to have to start doing some things differently. Cost of living. I avoid meals so my daughter can eat. Tasha lives with her partner and 2-year-old daughter, working full-time, but still struggling with the cost of living. It says here, prices are continuing to rise at their fastest rate for more than 40 years, driven by higher petrol and food costs. The whole reason I got back into work was to help support my family, but it doesn't feel like me working is even doing anything anymore, says Tasha. New research by youth homelessness charity Centerpoint has found 177 of the 2,000 people aged 16 through 25 that they surveyed said they had often gone without food in order to feed someone else. So I guess we can expect this trend to continue as more and more people lose their ability to purchase healthy food options. People are getting desperate, and there is another problem brewing in the background. The desensitization among people and our youth is growing, where deviation and depravity are becoming cultural norms. That's all for now, folks. I'm glad you are all here safe. You made it through Samhain. As you may have heard, not everyone made it past Halloween. Something happened in South Korea soon after I posted that video on Halloween 2022. After the Halloween rituals, we get the midterm election rituals here in the States. Interesting timing. Be sure to visit woodwardentertainment.com and the Woodward Entertainment Store. You can follow me on Instagram at JAEWoodward. Everyone have a great day, and until next time, stay awake, stay aware, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all soon.